Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? What's up, guys? Welcome to Backchat TV. So I'm gonna get straight into this very strange story. One part, which is a lot more light-hearted than the second part, which is quite a horrific story, and it's related to Max Kellerman, the well-known sports analyst. You probably recognize, or you might not recognize him from this video that's playing. A couple of things that people don't know about Max Kellerman, or may not know about him, is when he was younger, he had a rap career. So I never would have seen Max Kellerman rapping, but yet Max Kellerman and his brother Sam Kellerman, they both invented themselves as rappers when they were in their early teens, I think it was, and this is them rapping. They were pretty good. I can't play the actual rap, but yeah, they were pretty good. So that's one thing you probably didn't know about Max Kellerman. He was a rap artist. The second thing, and probably equally as shocking as Max Kellerman's rap career, that you probably didn't know about him, was that he was involved, or I wouldn't say involved, but connected with quite a gruesome murder. The whole story is actually a very complicated, very sad story. We're going to start with looking at a man who is very much involved in this story, Mr. James Butler.
Unanimous decision victory. Oh, look at this. Butler. Whoa! Butler just ran across the ring.
Butler just went over there and sucker punched and knocked out Grant.
Oh boy.
Terrible. And the new commissioner, Ray Kelly, will do something very, very enforceful here.
You want to talk about Zab Judah and his antics, losing some money in a suspension. James Butler should never be allowed in the ring again.
Absolutely.
Never. That's assault. That is assault. He should be arrested on the spot. He should be arrested right on the spot. That is assault and battery.
This will be the first test for the new commissioner, Ray Kelly, and I know that he will handle this the right way.
What a punk. James Butler can win. He turns to Butler to shake his hand, congratulate him.
Putting his arm out.
Boom. Right there. He was a coward and he couldn't get him during the fight, and he sucker punched him.
I'm sure also there are some people out there that are quite familiar with this story also, but it's not that well publicized as far as I can tell. So it's basically a story of a former boxer. His name was James Butler, and as you can see in the title, I think personally he's one of the most evil men in sports. It's a big claim, but the reason why I say that is a lot of things that he did just seemed to be, most of it was unprovoked. He seemed to have a very serious problem with his temper, and the signs were there at the beginning, quite early on in his career, and it then developed into what I'm going to talk about now, which he ended up doing. So a little bit of background about him. James Butler Jr., he was born December 18th, 1972. He's an American former professional boxer. I think he competed in 1996 to 2004. He challenged once for the IBF super middleweight title in 2000. I think he lost that, but the thing that he's most known for is the infamous bout November the 23rd, 2001, where he brutally sucker punched Richard Grant, who was actually, I think he was the champion at the time, middleweight champion at the time, in his second loss, because he had a loss to Richard Grant before, and he lost again by unanimous decision. After the bout, as you've seen in the video, it's one of the worst sucker punches I've ever seen. He even purposely removed his gloves, and the world witnessed him bare knuckle, strike Richard Grant in the face. Now, Richard Grant suffered, I think it was 25 stitches, could have been more. He had a lacerated tongue. Butler was later on arrested. He served, I think it was 4 months at Rikers Island for that offence. He still didn't lose his boxing license because he boxed again after that, which I can't believe, but I think he boxed another time after that. I may be wrong about that. I think he fought, his last fight was against a guy called Sven Otke, who he lost to. But the main thing that happened after he went to prison for 4 months, he then came out and there was some time in between, and he was friends with the quite well-known sports analyst Max Kellerman. And Max Kellerman's, I think, younger brother, Sam Kellerman, was also a sports writer. He was quite a talented guy. He wrote a few different articles and stuff like that. And he basically had a 10-year friendship with James Butler. So James Butler, after that ridiculous thing that he did in the ring, he hit on hard times, his money ran out, he didn't have a place to stay, he was having trouble with his girlfriend at the time, and he called on his good friend, which is Max Kellerman's brother, Sam Kellerman, to help him out because he didn't have a place to stay and he didn't have money. Now, Sam Kellerman never had to help him at all. He helped him with money, food, a place to stay. I think he also helped him with a car to get around. You know, after this disgusting thing he did in the ring, he still helped his friend. What had happened is, after staying in Sam Kellerman's home, he began to not clean up behind him, put his feet up, watching TV all day, staying in bed whenever he wants, doing whatever he wanted to do in his house. And there were some conditions to him staying there which he completely broke. He didn't keep the place tidy, he didn't keep the place clean. All sorts of things was going on. And eventually, Sam Kellerman put up with a lot of rubbish from this guy staying in his house, not working, he couldn't get a fight. And Sam Kellerman had spoken to friends that, he's really having a difficult time, and he didn't want to get rid of his friend Butler and say that he has to leave or clean up his act. But he'd asked James Butler to kind of clean up his act, and he had a very negative response from James Butler on many occasions, where he was quite physically rude to him, and eventually he had enough of him being in his house. I mean, obviously, he never had to help this Butler at all. He never had to help him at all, but he'd been helping him as a friend, and he ended up getting the short end of the stick, and Butler was actually quite rude to him, quite dismissive. He never took any notice of what he was telling him to do, and it became a difficult relationship, a difficult friendship. In the end, Sam Kellerman's kindness was being used against him, and he had to get rid of him. So he asked him to leave, if he's not going to change his ways and respect his house. A little time after that, Sam Kellerman's lifeless body was found in his own house, bludgeoned to death. I think he was struck with a hammer a number of times. It's quite crazy, this story, and it's crazy how it hasn't been reported that much. But Butler ran off. The police looked for him. They eventually found him. He pleaded guilty in court. They arrested him in 2004, and they eventually found him guilty of the murder. They found him guilty of murder, I think, and arson, because he had burnt the house and he had burnt his car as well, I think, in order to hide the evidence. But, they had a lot of evidence against him. He ended up getting sentenced to 29 years and 4 months in prison. So, this guy eventually, he actually pleaded not guilty and tried to get away with it. He tried to argue that he was bipolar and all sorts of things. And it's quite strange that his nickname in the ring was called the Hammer, and that's exactly what he used to kill Max Kellerman's brother. But I just think this story is such a shocking story. I hadn't heard of it before. I mean, Max Kellerman himself doesn't seem to like to really talk about it that much. Maybe that's the reason why it hasn't been publicized. And I can understand why. But, this guy definitely deserved every year of that 29-year sentence for what he did. It was a brutal murder as well. So, I'm happy that he got jailed. I think the signs were there from the time that he sucker punched that guy in the ring, little criminal things that he'd done prior to this, and then obviously the murder. just has to be one of it's the most disturbing story I've heard in sports so far. This is what Max Kellerman actually had to say in an interview.
How do you deal with it? I don't know, man. 5 years, you know, it's funny, nothing will erase your memory, you know, like trauma. I have patches in my memory that are gone, and it was 5 years before I could function like a regular human being. And then still, you know, it's rough. It's rough.
I would normally ask if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, but I don't think enjoyed would be the right word, to be honest. If you learned something from this video, subscribe to the channel and click the like. Also, even more importantly than that, please let me know your comments, what you thought of the story, if you knew about it beforehand. Was I the only one who didn't know about it? Let me know in the comments what you think.